Welcome back, everyone, to a special series I'm thrilled to be hosting on LinkedIn called The Entrepreneur's Chair. Throughout this series, my goal is to provide you with authentic and intimate conversations with trailblazing entrepreneurs that have reshaped the Austin business scene. From startup founders to seasoned business moguls, we'll dive deep into conversations about their triumphs, their challenges, and pivotal moments that shaped who they are as an entrepreneur. I'm so honored to have with us today Dr. Nahal Delpassand. She's a licensed psychologist, author, speaker, and recent TEDx presenter. With nearly a decade in private practice, she helps individuals deepen emotional awareness, build resilience, and navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and self-understanding. She earned her doctorate in counseling psychology from Our Lady of the Lake University and completed her doctoral residency at Emory University. Through her clinical work, speaking engagements, and media appearances, Dr. Delpassand has become a trusted voice on emotional literacy, self-esteem, and personal growth. Her TEDx argues that emotional literacy is a teachable skill that belongs in every classroom, and that pairing it with academic education shapes the way we navigate adversity and make decisions throughout our lives. She is also the author of her recently launched book, The Seasons of a Little Tree, a story centered on belonging, resilience, and self-acceptance. Inspired by her name, which means little tree in Farsi, the book reflects her passion for helping people develop emotional awareness and a strong sense of self from an early age. Welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me.
I'm so honored to have you here. What a great career, a private practice, a book, TEDx. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Well, you credit your upbringing for leading to this entrepreneurial spirit and launching the journey. So tell us a little bit about that impact.
Yeah, so I am the daughter of immigrant parents. My parents immigrated from Iran post-revolution, and they came to the U.S. and really built their roots and their legacy. I credit them for their work ethic, for their humility, for their capacity to display values in the way that they live. Yeah.
It's really impressive. It's so cool what we take away from our parents is just their experiences and how hard they work and
Yeah.
the difference that makes on our lives.
I've always felt so honored to observe what it's like to come to the U.S., to leave your roots behind, to leave your country of origin and even the language, and truly to start over. To watch them to persevere through education and then through their various entrepreneurial tracks, both my mom and my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard enough for me to move cities. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so congratulations on your recent book. I can't wait
Thank
to hear
you.
about it and read it, The Season of the Little Tree.
Mm-hmm.
So what inspired you to write it, and what's the message you hope that people take away from it?
I think this book, through my life experiences, I think it was written through my lived experience. And, years ago, I didn't know that I was writing this book. As you mentioned, my name in Farsi means little tree.
That's beautiful.
And essentially, trees for me have been really symbolic of growth, symbolic of change, and accepting the seasons in our lives. And the big premise in the book is that even though little tree is little and brittle, she's strong because of her roots. And the roots that we maintain are ultimately what sustain us in our lives, our roots of experience, our roots of culture, family, all the personal things that we endure end up being what sustains us.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you hope picks this book up and reads it?
I think children, I think parents, I think anybody who is needing a reference point for the importance of the seasons of life and honoring each season and recognizing that through pain, through hope, through loss. All of these things matter. I think oftentimes when we're struggling, we think in the moment that the struggle, what does this mean? And is this happening in vain?
Hmm.
But there truly is meaning behind it all.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's the human condition, right? It
Absolutely.
goes through all of us, all ages. So
Yeah.
that's just beautiful. Um, TEDx talk. I mean, that's impressive. And I want to talk about introduce something called voice.
Mhm.
That's the voice
Mhm.
framework. And so we're talking about emotional awareness, self inquiry, critical thinking,
Yes.
conflict resolution.
Yes.
What does emotional literacy mean to you?
I think emotional literacy, the first piece is self-awareness. It's being able to point the finger at yourself. And when I think about educationally, what needs to happen is we need to teach that early. We need to label emotions. We need to describe what those emotions mean. I think oftentimes one of the things that we do is we reassure our children it's going to be okay. That to me is part of it, but really it's about recognizing what someone is feeling and then describing and labeling what that is and how it shows up in various ways.
Beautiful. And why do you think that's so important today?
I think, as we grow in the lifespan, I think having that underpinning of understanding early allows us then to recognize things as we get older, and that builds trust in who we are instead of being taken aback and wondering, what is this? I don't understand it. When you grow up with that understanding, it builds trust, which then also builds decisiveness and decision making and choices that we maintain. And I think that's really key as we think about various domains in our lives, whether it's romantic, whether it's professional. Understanding how you feel, trusting how you feel
Mhm.
really exhibits a record that, can be maintained through choices in life.
We spend so little time on that, but I can remember as a kid, I just assumed everybody thought about everything the way I did. I just,
Yeah.
nobody had even
Yeah.
mentioned that. And just that transitional period of going, "Oh my goodness, you don't see that the same way?" And hearing that you're really bringing that to the world, like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay, let's get this self-awareness." And,
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you think about people, understanding, what do you want them to take away from the framework?
I think the most important thing, something that actually to me is under attack right now in our society is effort. I think oftentimes right now, everything needs to be effortless. How do we remove friction? And the reality is I think effort is sacred and mastery, requires effort. So part of the voice framework and emotional literacy is recognizing it doesn't come easy. It actually takes time and effort to build.
Yeah, there's, very few people that go through their life and don't have something traumatic that occurs
Exactly.
that truly makes them, in many cases, a better person, or sometimes just that they have to struggle through it
Yeah.
and then come out the other side. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're looking at this in kind of that framework
Mhm.
approach.
I think things that contribute to friction in our lives, they can be hard.
Yeah.
But, if we persevere, there's always learning and, betterment in who we are. Yeah.
So when we think about resilience,
Mhm.
it feels like it's like a misunderstood term. So what do you see resilience? What does it really look like in practice?
One thing when I think about resilience, I think about my mom
Yes.
as a woman, as a mother, as an entrepreneur. And when she first came to this country as a nurse, there was a doctor who was giving her a hard time and I think made a comment about her accent. And a line that she said to him was, I may talk with an accent, but I don't think with one. And so to me, that is an example of resilience, recognizing, you know, mentally how strong we are. And so because she was culturally coming into a country, and didn't necessarily have the language, she wanted to make it clear that the way she thinks, those faculties are intact. And so anytime I'm struggling, I think about that line as a way to push through.
That's I love that image. That is beautiful. Um, in your practice and when with life, I mean, you come across a lot of major life transitions, right? You've got, I'm sure the people you work with, chronic illness, infertility, just the whole human condition, the struggles that we go through. Um, what had those conversations taught you about human strength and adaptability?
I think that all of us, are going through something, through a season. I think adaptation happens in many different forms.
Mhm.
And, the deep importance of perspective, being able to step out and really observe what we're going through and genuinely honor that. I think sometimes it's hard when you're going through pain to think about honoring the pain, but I think it's important. I think it's important to address all parts of the adversity.
And if you are there certain tools and, how do you take people through those, evolutionary changes in their lives?
I think the first thing that I try to do is really display my willingness to stay in the muck. I think oftentimes clinicians, like most people, experience some level of discomfort. And so they want to implement a silver lining immediately or quickly get to intervention. But I actually spend a few sessions staying right there, acknowledging the challenge, recognizing what someone is feeling and the impact that it's having on various domains before I even go to a place of, here's what we do about it. Because I think so many times we want to skip through all of it.
Mhm.
Here's what you do to make yourself feel better. I'm going to reassure you and tell you everything's going to be okay. And I think ultimately people hear that all the time. So what they need to hear is a real granular, recognition of what it is they're experiencing.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah, because it feels like, there's a lot of people that they've only, come up for help first time in their lives. There's other people I'm sure you encounter that have, kind of been trying to deal with something.
Mhm.
And do you approach each of those people in a little different way?
I think so. I mean, I think if somebody's more seasoned in therapy, we joke because, what I'll say is, you probably know what I'm gonna say right now. And sometimes they'll say yes, and other times they'll say, try me. But I think, ultimately, I think everybody's different. And I think I try to recognize those differences early on. And one of the things, that I pride myself in as a clinician is because I've had so many different layers
Mm.
to my story.
Uh-huh.
I often find, you know, um, creative ways to connect with everybody that sits across from me.
I'm thinking, like, there's gonna be some people that are gonna be watching us having this conversation, and they're dealing with something, and there's something that's holding them back from actually, like, getting help. And it feels like with your practice, you're creating a forum that says, "Okay, you don't have to go and you just talk to someone immediately." It's almost like a path and education,
Absolutely.
like breadcrumbs that you're laying so that when they're ready, that they're gonna make a call and go or talk to someone one-on-one.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you've kinda created that, path?
Yes, I think readiness is so important. I actually had a patient recently who was younger, who was 14, and mom was strongly encouraging her to come. And
Mhm.
when I asked her whose idea it was, she pointed over to mom and said, it's her. And so after I met with her for a few sessions, we planted some seeds, but I let mom know that I didn't feel like, my client was ready and that wasn't a negative thing. It requires a certain developmental readiness. It requires a certain recognition of want, and we can't push it. I think one of the things that happens is we can't require someone to match our timeline.
Yeah. And that's
And
gotta be it's gotta be frustrating for, like, parents
yeah,
that they wanna help so much, but the time's not quite
Yeah.
right.
But what I will say is when I do something like that, it's very rare that people don't come back. The door is open, and, historically with that age range, what happens is they come back to me freshman year, sophomore year of high school as there's more awareness and understanding of what they're experiencing, and also too the influence of their peers saying that they have a therapist that they love. So then they, jump on the bandwagon. But I appreciate that opposition in a positive way. It's opposition, but it's strong will. And we need to respect the developing brain, even at this age, who is saying, look, I'm okay right now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of set that foundation of trust. I
Yeah.
hear you. You're not ready.
Yes,
This is here when you're ready.
absolutely.
And then when they do come, they're just like, okay.
And it models that an adult is hearing them, right? So, a mom or a dad is obviously much more connected. So sometimes it's hard for them to step out of the lens of wanting to help. But I think it models for them, wow, here's an adult who is listening to where I am and not forcing or pushing me
That's beautiful.
to.
Well, I thoroughly enjoy the conversation. I love that it just feels like your passion is helping people in that life journey. You've got multiple ways of doing that. I love that, it's so wonderful to do the one-on-one, but then to be able to bring more things out in the
Yes.
universe with TEDx and
Yes.
book. It feels like you are really sharing yourself to the world. So thank you for giving us that gift.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and I always end with a couple of questions, and one is, so what do you feel like authentically makes for a successful entrepreneur?
I think a successful entrepreneur is one who displays empathy and humility and an understanding of everybody's life experiences and how that may shape the effort that they put into the pursuit.
That's beautiful. And how would you define success as an entrepreneur?
I think success is mission oriented. I think my success isn't, financial. Success is the meaning derivative that I gain through the work that I do. To me, that is what tethers me to the work.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Enjoyed having you on the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.